Tamer Qarmout, who's an assistant professor of public policy with the Doha Institute for Graduate Studies. He's also a specialist on conflict resolution and international aid. Welcome back to Al Jazeera. So who do you think is calling the shots right now when it comes to the ceasefire and what happens next?
It's a very complicated question, Dareen. I think everyone has a say, more or less, in this very...
What can I ask you then? Context. Is the ball in someone's court, or do we not know that?
I think the Americans have the leverage, for sure. The U.S. is the key player here. I mean, there have been some reports coming out that Netanyahu surrendered to pressure from the U.S. to enable this truce to happen. So the Americans, they hold the stick, let me put it this way. So yes, I think if their involvement is key, the Qataris and the Egyptians, of course, the mediators are very important here. And let's hope it gets extended. You know, that's the thing. The thing is to stop and.
I mean, because there are two things that are going right now. One is the release today, and if and whether it will actually happen. And then the other thing, of course, is whether that ceasefire is going to be extended.
And you know what I mean. And there is also a missing element here. Also, a third one, which I would like to discuss further. It's the lack of any parallel political track, you know, to talk about the big issues, because everything is connected to each other. So when we say the Israelis want to extend the truce, at the same time they have these conflicting goals of toppling down Hamas's rule. Hamas will be nervous, so it will try also to hold its grounds. So the discussion is missing the elephant in the room, which is what's next, because the political track for the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, or it has to be discussed now. Because, for example, I mean, this war happens in the context of a Palestinian split. The Palestinian Authority in Ramallah is very nervous. They don't want to take over Gaza during the split, you know, because Hamas is still there. No one wants to see a civil war in Gaza, for instance. So will Israel manage to topple down Hamas rule in Gaza or not? So far, there's so many big questions. But what the international community should focus on is why not to open a dialogue on these matters, again, which is the entire Palestinian split question and the peace process, again, because these go in parallel with the truce and with also the option or the goal of toppling down Hamas, or whether or not Hamas will have a future in Gaza. But there is no discussion.
I hear what you're saying, but
yeah.
Are both the Israelis as well as the Palestinian sides ready to talk about these big issues right now? I mean, we heard from the Israeli Prime Minister just about 24 hours ago when he visited the Gaza Strip, and he said, we're ready to continue this war. So
yeah, but we read Joe Biden's op-ed piece in the Washington Post where he says he's committed to a two-state solution. So what does this mean in his opinion? A two-state solution, it means Palestinians will need to have a united leadership and an independent state as well. So how is he going to achieve this? Or what comes first, really? I don't think anything comes first in this situation. There has to be a third track, a parallel track where these things should be discussed now. And there are rumors that in some countries, some Arab capitals and countries, there are already discussions on these scenarios, on the future of Hamas, whether Hamas will accept a partner in the Gaza Strip or not. But these are all critical issues. I think if we have some clarity on them, like let's say if Israel realizes that the goal of toppling down Hamas is not realistic, which I don't think it's realistic, then this might give an opportunity for the truce to be prolonged, and then we expand the discussion on the bigger issues.
Right.
So and there the U.S. and the international community has to push for this. We don't wait. We don't keep this war between prolonging a truce or ending a truce or restarting the war, but we open a third parallel track where we say, let's discuss the big elephant in the room, which is the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the Palestinians and their future state.
Look, one thing that is being discussed in the U.S. is, in fact, and this is according to the Wall Street Journal, American media reporting that some members of Congress are now voicing support for putting conditions on aid to Israel in order to limit civilian deaths in the war. Particularly, the one Democratic Senator, Chris Murphy, said that he was open to this idea of placing conditions. Is this unprecedented?
It is, of course it is, and I see it as a very positive sign. I mean, it's a change in the internal American politics. Biden is nervous as well. I mean, his popularity is under questioning here, you know, because of what the Americans see, the way this brutal war has been managed, and the U.S.'s blind support to Israel. I mean, you see, so I think this is a critical time, even for the U.S. administration. So it could be an opportunity for them as well if they're serious about pushing for the peace agenda, the big elephant in the room, then they should immediately open a parallel track on this big question and start a discussion with Hamas and Fatah and Israel as well. I personally don't believe that toppling down Hamas is an option unless Israel wants to reoccupy the entire Gaza Strip. And then here we are talking about a big transfer scenario as well, population transfer to Egypt. I don't think it's realistic it's happening. So the Israelis also are in a very narrow angle here. So they have to meet in the middle. And the Americans, the U.S. administration has a big role in this game.
All right. Thank you so much, Tamer, for the time being. Tamer Qarmout there.